My name's Rich Harrington, and welcome to this week's edition of Understanding Adobe Photoshop. We're going to take a look at a really cool filter called Vanishing Point, which can be used to create perspective cloning. Now, Vanishing Point allows you to draw perspective lines within the image, and then as you paint or clone, the brushes respect that perspective or angle. This is really useful when you have directionality in a photo and you need to do some cloning or maybe extend an object. Let's see how it works. I've gone ahead here and opened up our first picture, and you can actually download this photo if you have the book Understanding Adobe Photoshop CS4 from Peachpit Press. If not, just find your own picture that has some perspective lines within it. We're going to go ahead and choose Filter, Vanishing Point. And for this to work, we have to draw a perspective plane. Now, Vanishing Point is all about the angles within the photo, so you want to look for those diagonal lines that indicate planes within the image. Let's go ahead and do this sign first. I'm going to go ahead and click, and I'm just using the edges here to help me pick up the border of the sign. There we go. And there we have it. Now, that's fine and ready to use. If I didn't click very well, if I misclicked, you see that that turns yellow. Vanishing Point is going to try to guide you for where the planes are. So if you get yellow or red lines, it means you weren't quite right. And you want to go ahead and actually re-click it or move those points along until it turns blue. A bad plane will make for a bad Vanishing Point experience. Let's go ahead and pull that back in there. There we go. And that looks good. If we want to, we can extend that a little bit, just pulling that to the edges for the cloning. So that's great. What I want to do is sample this O down here and put it up here because the individual letter up here got blown out when the light bulbs burnt. Let's go ahead and take the clone stamp here. We'll take the stamp tool, and I'm going to hold down the Option or the Alt key and click on that letter O. Now I can come up here and position myself in a similar fashion, and that looks about right. Click and simply clone, and it actually fills in that letter from below. Now, that's more elaborate than just doing a regular clone. You may think that you could have just used the regular stamp tool there, but it wouldn't have worked. The sign has a little bit of an angle to it and it bends. So if you try to clone that O, it would not line up. This is where Vanishing Point really shines. Let's take a look at another example of how we can use Vanishing Point. To store this, we'll just go ahead and click OK. And if we wanted to even refine it further, we could have used the ability to heal as we cloned, but that's pretty good here. Let's click OK, and it applies, and you see that that was a great fix. Here's our next picture, and what I want to do here is a little bit of extension to make the building taller. Now, this is another way that Vanishing Point can be useful if you have to extend an object within a scene. Maybe it's an architectural rendering or a photo and you're trying to simulate something like this, where the perspective just keeps going. I'll go ahead and choose Filter, Vanishing Point, and it opens up. Let's go ahead here and actually define out this region. There we go. And we are just using the boundaries of the image to determine our planes. That worked well. I can go ahead and grab that and pull it down. And notice it does a good job of following that for me. And we're going to take that and keep going upwards. If we need to, we could expand that out by grabbing the edge and pulling. And you see that the plane tears nice and evenly. What we're going to do now is grab the stamp tool and Option click to set a source point. Let's go with this particular one right here for the edge of the building, and then come up here to the next edge and line that up and start to click. That's working really well. I'm going to use right bracket to get a bigger brush and continue to clone. And notice what we're doing there is we are cloning in more of the building and making it taller. There we go. And it looked like we added an extra story to that building. There we have it. So if you need to make a change like that, you can. We actually were able to clone from one part of the image and extend the scene up a whole nother story. Want to do it again? Let's just clone stamp one more time. I'll Option click to set my source point. come on up here to the top where it should go. Actually might be a little easier on this side here, so let's option click on the right edge. There we go. Line it up here and click and start to paint, and notice how it fills that in. There we go. Did a great job of extending that, and we could fill in that information. If we need a little bit more, no big deal. Just option click, set your new source point, and you could put that in. Notice we're getting a little bit of a line there. That's because we could benefit from actually stretching that plane further along so it has more information to work with. If you need to, you could do Command minus to zoom out so you can then see beyond the edges, and that gives you more of the plane. Let's just pull that down a bit. That's looking good. Grab this stamp, option click to set our source point, come on up where it should go, and click, and there you have it. So, very, very useful. We just added about 3 more stories to this building, and I can click OK, and that worked out great. Now, you might need to do a little bit of blending in here with the sky, but that's a piece of cake. Just grab the healing brush, option click to set a source point, and you could start to heal that in, and that'll blend it in for you quite nicely. You want to make that a little more accurate, tell it to go ahead as you are healing, and make sure that you set that to replace, and now it'll do a little nicer job of picking up the edges, and it blends it really well. There we go. That looks good. You can always refine that a bit, but I'm pretty happy. Let's just be lazy here and do a quick selection. There we go. And I'll say filter, blur, Gaussian, and we'll just punch that out a bit, and the sky is good. So, lots of flexibility. You can go ahead and continue to play with that as you see fit, but all in all, it worked out great. My name is Rich Harrington for Understanding Adobe Photoshop. Make sure you explore Vanishing Point. It's a useful tool when you need to fix an object that's along a plane or extend an object within the scene. And if you'd like to see more tutorials, as well as how to use Vanishing Point to actually create 3D animation, be sure to stop over to my other blog at photoshopforvideo.com, where we explore how Photoshop and After Effects can use Vanishing Point to create 3-dimensional models. Thanks for tuning in.